Welcome to episode 49 of the Hunt Backcountry podcast, presented by Exo Mountain Gear. That number 49, it's kind of important this time because as we were recording the show, I think I mentioned at one point it was episode 47. I think another point I mentioned it was 48. Apparently I was all confused. Didn't know when this sucker was going to be released, but it is episode 49. The reason you're going to want to know that is for the show notes. So if you go to exomountaingear.com/49, you will be able to grab the show notes for this episode, including a link to an article. And we're actually discussing that article, that topic, with the author in this episode. So the author is Josh Kirchner. He is the owner of dialedinhunter.com. Just absolutely puts out some great killer content, a really good writer, great photography, just a really enjoyable site to go check out. Today we are talking about the mental battles of hunting the backcountry. So Josh is a newer hunter to backcountry and backpack style hunting. He brings a really good fresh perspective and wrote a great article for us on this very topic. And once I saw the article, I knew I wanted to publish it for Exo blog, which we are with this episode, but B, the reason that we're here, I knew that I wanted to get Josh on the show to discuss this topic because there's so much to cover. So this is super timely. If you are getting this as it comes out, you either are hunting, you're in the midst of your season, you're getting ready to start your season. Some of you, the few lucky ones, have even got to notch a tag already. So this topic, the mental battles of hunting the backcountry, incredibly timely, incredibly important. Hope you guys really enjoy this episode and find it valuable. Wanted to give a special shout out to the iTunes reviewers. You guys rock. We were close to 200 reviews. We have now blown past 200. Thank you guys so much for that feedback. And it just helps us get the podcast in front of new listeners. That's just the way iTunes works. The more feedback you get, the more promotion you're going to get, essentially. So we want to share this podcast not because we think we're super awesome, but because we think the content and our guests and the lessons that we're sharing are incredibly valuable. So you guys who review the podcast, thank you so much. The iTunes reviewer C_ton, as best as I could count, you were number 200 to leave a written review. We want to send you some Exo Mountain Gear swag, so contact us via podcast@exomountaingear.com, and we will get something shipped out your way. Listeners, we do these swag giveaways quite often. To be entered, all you have to do is leave a review with your honest feedback on iTunes or Stitcher, wherever you happen to be listening to this. Also, if you have questions, comments, feedback, guest suggestions, topic suggestions, any of the above, go ahead and shoot us an email to podcast@exomountaingear.com. As well, we would love to hear how your season goes and see some photos from your experiences. So share those with us as well. You can always follow us on Instagram at instagram.com/huntbackcountry, or just look us up under the username huntbackcountry. All right, guys, enough rambling. On to the show, Mental Battles of the Backcountry with Josh Kirchner. Well, Josh, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh, no problem. I'm happy to be here. I've been listening to you guys since the first episode.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's good you stuck in. Yeah, I mean, for the listeners who aren't aware, Josh, you have a awesome website, dialedinhunter.com, and we've kind of gotten to connect probably, pre-podcast days, right? That we kind of connected online and shot some emails back and forth and stuff.
Yeah, I was an avid follower of your site, Soul Adventure.
Oh, cool. And
that's kind of how, I mean, quite honestly, that was a big inspiration to me to start writing, about what I'm doing, and that's why, I'm glad you've always been a big help to me. I've always, had questions for you, and you never hesitated to answer them. So I thank you for that.
Oh, that's cool to hear, man. It is, I don't know. I look at what you're doing with your site and I just get pumped. And I guess part of that in me is like, because I've obviously slowed down on my site, and you're kind of almost not intentionally, but I see you like kind of carrying that torch of putting together hopefully really helpful, cool content from an interesting perspective, because we all have our own unique perspectives, and I don't know, it's just cool to see somebody share theirs and kind of follow along in their story. Was rooting for you all season with your long bear season and all that, and it's just fun to follow along for sure.
Yeah, I it was kind of before I started it up, it was kind of daunting almost, because there's so many people that are trying to come up with content, whether it's videos or articles, photography, whatever it is, whatever their cup of tea is. And if you think of it as that, like, oh my God, why should I even do this? Because there's millions of other people that are trying to do it. It's kind of overwhelming. But I mean, you told me something, or you wrote an article, I think it was, and it said, everything, basically everything you're going to say has been said, but it hasn't been said by you.
Right.
And I really took that to heart, and just, I just did it because I loved writing about, hunting and stuff. And I wanted to, I'm actually fairly new to like hardcore hunting, if you would. Mm-hmm. I've been doing it since I was a kid with my dad, but when I was a kid, it was, it was like your annual deer hunt with your dad, basically.
The deer camp.
Yeah, for sure. And it never really went further than that. And then I'd say probably 3 years ago, I don't know, man. I just got bit by a bug, and I got bit bad, and
got infected. Yeah,
no, for sure, like a big stinger. So ever since then, the journey of learning, and really trying to put these things together instead of just, because I think there's a difference between, I'm going hunting and then hunting.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of guys, they go, which is just totally fine. They go out and they're on vacation, and that's awesome. Maybe they're getting away from their wives, but for me, like, I wanted to go out, and I genuinely want to be successful. I want to learn about like how to hunt, not just going out and going on bow hikes or rifle hikes, so, just getting geeky and like looking into bear biology and just trying to learn about things, and, the trials and tribulations of the whole learning process. I wanted to share my experience with that, mm-hmm. and let people know, because I think something that gets misconstrued with hunting media in particular is you watch a show, and the guy, whether he's hunting whitetails or elk or whatever, it doesn't matter. This show's only like 23 minutes.
Yeah.
And as for a youngster in particular, you look at that, and I did too. I grew up watching Primo's DVDs and stuff with my dad, and like these guys, you'll go through 20 minutes of content and 13 bucks will hit the dirt.
Right.
And it's kind of like, oh, wow, I can go do that, But then when you get out there, it's like, man, why am I not seeing anything? Why can't I do this?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to share with people that stuff is normal.
Yeah.
It's totally normal,
mm-hmm.
to have to go through those things and to be discouraged, and to maybe you're not seeing any animals, hey man, that's normal. But it's no reason to quit. I feel like a lot of people, I've heard of people doing that. Oh, I don't hunt anymore because we never got anything. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this has been said before, success is measured in the eyes of the beholder, so with me, it's like, yeah, I want to be successful, but at the same time, just going out and experiencing the mountains and being out there with friends, family, or by myself, is just special. It's way more than letting an arrow go or sending a bullet across a canyon.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much why I wanted to write. And to just to inspire people.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean that's a message that doesn't get out there enough. Like Everybody's so I mean, that's just, it's not just hunting, right? I mean, it's the age that we're in with social media,
Oh yeah.
and all kinds of things. Like, everybody's so quick to share their good days, but
Oh
people
yeah.
aren't really getting on and being, super transparent or posting
no.
their horrible moments, right? And like, I think that's something that us as hunters, like, we actually can, like, we can go out and, write about or talk about or tell a story about a really, really bad hunt. And it's not all the glory moments, but, what can we learn from that bad hunt? And, what did we enjoy despite the hunting being bad? All those stories are definitely worth telling for sure.
Right. It's like when you sit down and tell a hunting story, you don't just go, oh, so I showed up and I shot him. That's not the story.
Right.
Like, you tell this elaborate story of how, like, oh man, it snowed a foot, and just you tell about all the bad stuff and all the struggles before that. That's the majority of the story. And then, if you're fortunate, then you come out with a deer or an elk or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like that second of pulling the trigger is literally that. It's a second.
Right.
It's for instance, I chased bears really hard last year too. Bear hunting is one of my big passions when it comes to species specific animal hunting. Last year, I chased them really hard, and then my hunt literally ended. Like, I saw the bear that I shot for probably 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And then I pulled the trigger, and that was it. And the area is so thick. I shot the bear, and he ran off, and then that was it. I didn't even see him, and literally in a split second. Where beforehand, okay, like, there's like an hour's worth of story before that I could tell you that is just, that's the story.
Yeah.
The journey to that point. But then once I got there, it was over.
Right.
That was it. So
Yeah,
that's the guys on TV, they don't tell you, they don't show the 8 days before that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's, that's interesting too. I think the whole fact that in hunting media and in, the quick, simple, easy hunting stories, that's what non-hunters see too. And so I think part of the reason they don't fully get hunting is because they're under the impression that you show up, you shoot something, you go home. It's that easy. End of story. It's not fair. It's not fair to the animals. You didn't earn it. You didn't, you know what I mean? And if they would realize everything that goes into it, I think a lot of people who are on the fence about hunting, or maybe a little, not, like hardcore PETA anti-hunters, but like, just like, I don't kind of get hunting. It doesn't seem, if they would understand the bigger picture, the full story, everything that goes into it, how difficult it is, I think so many more non-hunters would respect hunting. And so I think that's another reason it's really important to tell that whole story.
Right. And it's not, and that's not saying they're going to become a hunter, but
no, and they don't need to. Yeah.
No, absolutely not. This is kind of funny you bring this up. My wife is actually a vegetarian.
Oh, awesome.
And
that makes for interesting house dynamics.
Yeah. So, nobody, we tell people that we don't know, and they're like, how does that work? I don't know, man.
For you, I don't know. I think it's kind of brilliant, actually. More meat for you. No.
Right? Yeah. No. I'm being all stingy. No.
Yeah.
What's interesting about that is when I first met her, she was very against hunting, and the more, and I wasn't mean to her or anything. I wasn't being obnoxious about it, and the more that she saw how much over the years I really started to love it. We've been together for 13 years coming up here. So, the first 10 years, it was me going, like I said, every year with my dad. But then after that, I really got into it. And she really respected the fact that one of the reasons I really jumped headfirst into all this was because of the meat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wanted to, I sat there and I'm like, you know what? I want to live a healthier life.
Yeah.
I started paying attention to my physical fitness more. I started doing a lot of research on hunting and stuff like that, because that meat that you bring in from the field is the most pure, organic, free range meat that you will ever get your hands on.
Yep.
There's no hormone. There's nothing, it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah. It's truly wild.
Yeah, absolutely. And because of that, that was her really, that was where she really accepted it, was because she would rather me eat that than eat something off a feedlot.
Right.
Because I've seen a lot of us have, the videos out there of how the animals are treated and everything. It's horrible.
Yeah.
And because of that, and I was trying to get away from that, she supports me 100% with it. She even helps me butcher and package all my meat.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was going to say, she's not only like theoretically supportive. I didn't know she helped you with the butchering. That's amazing. But I know that she's like out hitting the hills with you. She's helping you, like she's gone on scouting trips, right? She's helping you do photos for your content. So like she's fully on board.
Yeah, that's and that's how I try to include her.
Yeah.
Because she might not want to, actually see an animal die, which that's fine with me.
Sure.
I can understand that. But I'll bring her out scouting with me, and include her. And it's actually, she's one of the reasons I got into backpack hunting, is because I was like, hey, this would be pretty cool. I can backpack with my wife.
Yeah.
During the off season. It'll give us something to do together, something else, and it'll get her out there because she loves being out there, because she knows once hunting season comes, I'm a wild card as far as if I'm going to be home or not. She like just the other day, she's like, how many dinners am I cooking for you this week?
Right. When are you going to be around?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm just like missing in action because it's bow season or something, so. That I think that's really cool. I think that's awesome that she's able to get out there with me and accepts that. That was something I was worried about in the beginning, but luckily it worked out.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. How did you get in? I mean, I know you kind of covered it briefly, kind of the desire and the reason why you wanted to share your story, but did you ever write or anything before, or did you literally just kind of start writing when you started the journey with the site?
As far as like writing articles goes, that's literally when I started. As far as writing, like as a whole, I have a pretty big musical background. Ever since I'm 30 now, so ever since I was 12, I've been in bands.
Oh, okay.
So as far as writing words came, that's really where I got experience, if you would, doing that. I wasn't like the singer or anything, but I definitely helped with that end of things. And then I started writing my own songs and stuff. And so as far as like playing with words goes, that's where I try to get stuff from. And that's also kind of what made me want to write the way I write, because the music that I used to play, we always wanted to be inspirational, and have a message to what we're saying, not just, spouting this or spouting that or complaining about this or complaining about that. We wanted to instill hope in people and inspire people and stuff. So that I tried to take that aspect of the lyrical portion of our music and put it into my articles, and like with my views and stuff. So yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. People underestimate how difficult it is, I think, to write even just like a hunting article, but to do it well it's difficult. And one of the things that I used to wrestle with a lot is that whole idea of kind of finding your own voice, like that your writing becomes yours and like has your distinct, personality or approach or what have you. And I kind of see that in yours. So I was curious if you had been writing a while, because it seems like, you've kind of found your voice and your angle and your approach, but that makes sense.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to hear that, because sometimes when I'm sure you know this, when you're reading your own thing, sometimes you don't realize until an outside perspective comes in and reads it.
Yeah.
I do it with my wife all the time. I'm like, does this sound good? And to me, maybe it sounds bland, but to her, she's like, no, that's really good, and then, oh, okay. But no, I'm glad to hear you say that.
Oh, cool, man. Well, I guess to get like to the topic, although that was an awesome conversation, and kind of give some listeners some context for how this show came about and where we're headed.
Right.
I had reached out to you, Josh, to consider writing a post for us on Exo Mountain Gear, and you did an awesome job writing an article for us about why you should consider backpack hunting. Came together terrific. Listeners, you can go ahead and check that out at exomountaingear.com/blog, and you'll find that there. But then, we were chatting and said, yeah, man, that turned out great. Let's do it again. And then you kind of approached us with this idea of the mental battles of hunting the backcountry. I loved the idea. I was like, yeah, man, let's see the article. And you sent it over, and it's fantastic. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, dang, we really need to just like talk through this on the podcast, especially for right now, because so many guys in the coming hours, days, from when they're hearing this, some weeks, will be heading out for sure. So that's kind of what we wanted to address tonight. So that was your topic. Was there anything specific that made you come up with that, or is it just something that you've been wanting to write about? I'd love to kind of hear if there's any particular backstory there.
Well, obviously there was a motivating factor with the hunting season's right around the corner. Okay. Yeah. And I'm not one of those guys that picks his bow up a week before the season and then, and shoots a couple at 20 and calls it good. I do stuff all year round. Whether it's working out or going to the archery range or the rifle range or whatever. I'm usually doing stuff that involves hunting all year, and doing that all year round, all you're thinking about, like when you're at the archery range, all you're thinking about, oh my God, I can't wait till deer season, or, I can't wait till elk season or whatever. So a lot of anticipation gets built up. And then I've had it happen before where it's like, I've been waiting all year for this, literally. And then I get out there and it's tough,
mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know if you've ever done this, but it's like you're sitting there, it's like, contemplating going home, and to take a step back, and look down at that, it's like, dude, you've been waiting all year for this.
Yeah.
You're going to let some rain push you out, or lack of animals or whatever it is, like a tough hunt, a tough hunt is going to make a great story. Whether you're telling it over the campfire or you're posting it online, whatever it is, those make the greatest hunting stories, is tough hunts. And it doesn't even have to end with a dead animal.
Right.
So that was really the motivating factor behind that, because I put a lot of hype into that bear hunt you were talking about that I just got off of. I was so stoked, and I still am. I was so stoked that I drew that tag. There's only 50 tags for that unit, and I didn't see one hunter the whole time, the whole 4 months I was out. And it ended up being it was a grind, man.
Yeah.
And after all that build up of, I can't wait to get out. Like, I'm seeing like dudes online, killing spring bears here and there. And I'm over here like, oh man, I've seen 5 bears in 4 months, and didn't even pull my bow back. That's a situation that could lead to, a lot of discouragement.
Yeah, man. That's especially when you're talking 4 months, that's a long time to get after it.
Yeah. Yeah. So because of that, that's kind of what made me want to write the article, is, dude, stick with it, man. Like, you're having a tough hunt. Cool story. So am I. So is everybody else out there.
Right.
Not everybody walks out on opening day and gets it done, So
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to let people remember that before they head afield.
Yeah.
So
I mean, one of the things you mentioned there and is mentioned in the article is that it's the lack of animals. I mean, you mentioned you were out 4 months and saw a handful of bears.
Yeah, we saw 5 bears.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, granted, you know what? I don't want to be throwing excuses around, but never hunted the unit. It was new to me. That's why I hunted it for 4 months. I hunted it during the over-the-counter season, during my season, and the whole time, and you know what? I just kept going. And I learned a lot. It was like a different animal to me. I normally hunt these bears in the fall, so it's almost like hunting a different animal just because of their habits and stuff. But yeah, dude, it was real tough, man.
Yeah.
It was very easy. It would have been a very easy decision for me to go, you know what? I think I'm just going to focus on the upcoming deer season.
Yeah. No joke, man.
So, yeah. But no, I mean, we made the best of it.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing to keep in mind too, I mean, the satisfaction of looking back on that now and you being able to go, you know what, I did everything. I gave it a solid effort. I was beyond persistent. I did everything I knew to do, and maybe I didn't know what to do, but at least I did. At least I did what I knew to do, and that's something to keep in mind too. Like when you're in the midst of that grind, whether it's a week-long backpack hunt and you're not seeing animals, or it's a 4-month bear hunt and you're not seeing animals. Yeah. In the midst of that, look and go, what am I going to feel like when this hunt's over if I didn't do everything I could have? If I didn't stick it out, how am I going to feel like in 2 weeks if I look back and go, I just kind of gave up on that,
Yeah. I've, something about that there. Let's see here, about 2.5 years ago, the one and only elk tag I've ever drawn here, I drew a late rifle bull hunt here in Arizona, and I knew nothing about elk, absolutely nothing. I couldn't tell you anything, the first thing about them. I did not put really any effort into learning about them for that. And the country, the wintering grounds versus the summering grounds, and just everything, everything that goes into animal biology and stuff. And it bit me, man. It was tough, and that was one of those times where it's like I didn't do everything I could have.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since that hunt, I have tried to do everything I could have. And that my wife will tell you, like the bear hunt that, the one you keep mentioning, so many times I told her, I was like, you know what, I think I'm just going to hang out in July, because the season ended in the end of July, and I was out all June. I'm like, I think I'm just going to hang out at the end of July. I haven't really got to spend a lot of time with you. But like mentally, I just kept finding myself going back up there because I couldn't deal with the fact that I didn't do everything I could have. Because I mean, you know this, a lot of guys know this, that hunt a lot. A hunt can turn around literally in a second.
Oh yeah.
Literally. So I just kept that in the back of my head, and that's what kept me going back out. You know, so I didn't want to look back at it and be like, I didn't do everything I could after I waited, and I was so stoked for this tag that I drew, and then I didn't put the time in.
Yeah.
I just couldn't handle that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's such a good point. Like, you can spend hours and days and weeks, and literally, as you mentioned, in seconds, everything can change.
Yep.
Everything can change in seconds. Sometimes when you least expect it too,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, I think of our elk hunt, a couple of years ago. I guess we've been hunting hard for like solid 4 days, and on the 5th day, we finally got into elk. you know? And we had really crappy encounters up until that point, but I mean, we were getting tired, and 4 days doesn't sound like a long time, but when you're just at it like dark to dark 4 days straight, and you're just not seeing, you're not hearing, you're just not, you know, getting what you expected, it's like you start questioning everything.
Yeah.
But literally, you know, we literally changed directions on the 5th morning and heard some bulls bugle, and that changed everything. And we got into them that day a bunch, and it didn't happen. But, you know, just those encounters, it was like, all right, we're up there again tomorrow, game plan. Yep. And we learned from that day, from how we played it out on that day 5. We kind of learned where they were going, kind of felt out their behavior, and then boom, made it happen the next day. And so, yeah, It's just, I mean, sometimes you got to change directions. Sometimes you got to change it up. It's one of those things where it's like, you always second guess the fact of, should I be persistent and hunt here, or should I hunt somewhere else? Should I be persistent with this tactic, or should I try this tactic? Should I be calling this much, or should I shut up? Like, those types of things, sometimes you never know, right? Like, so sometimes you just have to go with your gut, but the most important thing is that you're trying. It's that you're there, and that's that you're out there.
Yeah, that's what I tell a lot of people. I'm a big fan of hunting all day. And you know what? Like you're saying, oh, I don't know whether to go here, whether to go there. The fact of the matter is, what's important is that you go somewhere.
Yeah.
And you're there, you know, even if you're just sitting there not doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, and just taking in what's in front of you, or taking a nap, whatever it is, you know, you could wake up and a bugle could wake you up, you know, and if you were back at camp, you would have never experienced that, you know? So, no, that's a great point. You know, it's very important, to just stick with it, because if you're not out there, you're not gonna feel your tack.
Yeah, that's for sure. For sure. So besides not seeing or encountering or hearing animals, another thing that you kind of mentioned was just the loneliness of being out there and spending a bunch of time out there. I mean, you've even kind of referenced how much time you were away from your wife and how that can, you know, play with your mind for sure.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that, especially if you're solo hunting?
Yeah, I do a lot of, I hunt by myself quite a bit. In the beginning, it wasn't, well, I guess it was by choice in the beginning, but it was the only way I could get out, you know? So it was either don't go hunting or go out by yourself. So I wanted to get out so much, I went out by myself, you know? And, some of the things that have kind of helped me being out there by myself is, this sounds kind of crazy. I talk to myself a lot.
Like out loud?
Oh yeah, you betcha. You bet.
Gotta keep yourself company, right?
No, absolutely. No, I mean, it sounds crazy, but like if I'm sitting there glassing or something, a lot of times I'll be like whispering to myself, and it just, I don't know, it just makes me feel better, you know, just like saying something. Also, just my wife sometimes she'll like slip notes into my backpack for every day that I'm gone, you know, and it just kind of like it helps with the disconnect, you know. She'll tell me like what she was planning to do that day, you know, and it helps me just keep going. Like the first year that I really jumped into everything, it was a bear hunt. Go figure. And I was out by myself, I think for like 7 or 8 days or something. And I was ready to come home. You know, I didn't see one bear. I kept seeing deer all over the place, which was cool, but it's not cool when it's not a bear and you're out there bear hunting.
Yeah.
You know, and she just kept telling me, like, just stay out there. You know, you don't have anything else to do. You know, just stay out there. I ended up killing a mountain lion because of that. It was the first mountain lion I've ever seen.
Wow.
You know, And that experience was insane. Like I was sitting there by myself, like you mentioned, like, oh, God, just totally discouraged, just, mentally defeated, and there goes some more deer walking up the hill. And all of a sudden this lion comes charging down the mountain after these deer. And after like witnessing this like National Geographic moment,
and here comes the cat.
right. Yeah, no, it was crazy. I was like, oh my God, I have a lion tag. So I ended up killing that lion. And then I had to track that lion by myself because nobody would come up. Everybody was busy. That was the first animal I've ever blood trailed by myself.
Wow.
And it turned out that it wasn't dead.
Wow.
Yeah, like I was trailing the fact that I found blood, I was like just elated, because it never happened for me before, So I'm trailing the lion, and then all of a sudden I find this big pool of blood and nothing past that. And I'm like, okay. So I'm looking around for like 10 minutes, and then I look through the trees and I see this tail flick up in the air. And the lion was laying there underneath a juniper facing away from me, and I just kind of took it in for a moment because I've never like really looked at a lion, Yeah. And then
not many people have, like in the wild up close. That's insane.
Yeah, it was about 50 yards. And she was it was a female. She was sitting there licking her wound, from the shot and everything. And I just kind of took it in. Then I shot her there, and it was like seconds. She was dead. But
wow, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, but had I given up because I was so, like I'll say it again, mentally defeated from being out there by myself and not seeing anything, that would have never happened.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of people should keep in mind, like we already said it, if you're not out there, I don't care if you've been there for 5 days and you haven't seen anything, you're by yourself, you're making friends with lizards, like whatever it is, just keep doing it and enjoy your time out there, because being out there is such a privilege. And a tough hunt is it's a privilege to be on a tough hunt.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I do the same, like with, those little notes or whatever from the wife for my kids, it's always fun to get those, and those help with the loneliness factor for sure. I mean, especially for, me, I'm multiple states away, thousands of miles away, on a long hunt, and it's those little things. Like I have a couple little stickers on my quiver that I let my kids kind of decorate my bow, and just seeing those every day it's huge.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Seeing those is huge. I have a note that my daughter gave me either 2 or 3 years ago. She was probably like 4. And it meant to say, I love you, Daddy, love Karis, or whatever. But, she was like 3 or 4, and she wrote it, and it says, I love you, Karis, Daddy. It's like all out of order. But I'm like looking at it, it's so cute. I love it. It's like, that's from 2 or 3 years ago, and I keep it with my hunting stuff all the time because I always want to have it. And those little things, help for sure.
Absolutely, man. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and tying into that, like another key point, and you touched on it too, is just like remembering. Like, remember how lucky you are to be there. Like, if it's day whatever, remember that in 160 days or in 30 more days, you're going to be wishing with everything you have that you could be back where you are now.
Exactly.
And so it's like remembering in the moment and remembering in this season that the off season is going to be here soon, what you're doing, regardless of if the weather sucks, regardless of if the animals aren't showing up, regardless of if any X, Y, or Z obstacle, is such, as you said, a privilege, which is such a great word. It is such a privilege and such a special opportunity that you have to be out there.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Dwight Schrute?
Yeah, I mean, I know the name, and I've read some of his stuff, but I haven't read, a bunch of his books or anything.
Yeah, he is for sure one of my favorite outdoor writers. But he was on the Full Draw Full Time podcast. And he said something that really stuck with me on that, and it has to do with this, remembrance and stuff. And he said, like you were saying, it doesn't matter if it's a blizzard or, it's super hot or it's rainy, whatever. That's the best day of your life, being out there, and that really stuck with me, because you never know. You never know when you might not be able to do that.
Yeah.
And like you said, again, it is a privilege, and I can't stand it when I see people take it for granted. It's not something to be taken for granted at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yep.
Yep. For sure, man. So we mentioned weather.
Oh God, isn't that the biggest one?
Yeah, it cracks me up. Like, weather is the one thing, because it's in every hunting story that doesn't go right, weather's a factor, and it's it's always like, well, I don't want to come off with an excuse, and I do the same thing too, and it is an excuse and isn't, but it is so funny because they're. Like, how many perfect days do you get when you're hunting the mountains, right? They're just, it's almost like they don't exist.
No, it doesn't. Because if it's really nice out, you're not seeing anything.
Yeah, right.
Right? Weather is, you're not going to get away from it.
Yeah.
You're not going to, man. Especially... like right now, for instance, over here in Arizona, this is our monsoon season. Okay. So thunderstorms will literally build out of nothing. If you look at the radar, they'll pop up just randomly in around the state. So there's not really you can't really predict it.
Yeah.
And that's especially true up in the mountains. So, not going hunting this time of year because of that is just not an option.
Yeah.
We're coming up on, okay, so we got early archery deer starting up here this Friday along with bear. But then when that closes, then elk starts up. It's just a time of year to be out there with your bow, so, to let weather get to you, you're not going to get away from it. So I say just live with it.
Yeah.
As long as you're being safe, you don't want to, of course, if you don't have the right gear and you're in a blizzard, you need to get out of there. Okay. But, you know what, man, go buy the best rain gear you can afford, and carry it. It works, and it'll keep you out there. I had, one of the first bear hunts I ever went on was quote unquote ruined because of rain. And I look back on that and I almost killed a bear the first day I was there. And then after that, all this rain came. And what did we do? We packed up and left, because why would you hunt in the rain? But something I've learned I don't know if this is true in other states, something I've learned tactic wise with weather is that, specifically with bears, when it stops raining, you absolutely have to be glassing.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw like 9 bears last October in like an hour and a half. It poured the night before that. And then throughout my scouting in the months before that, I was paying attention to that, during the monsoon. It's like, oh man, this thunderstorm's just getting out of here. The ground is super muddy. You're walking to your glassing spot with 2 inches of mud on your boots. Every single time I did that, I saw bears.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's just, what, they want to get up and stretch and go for a stroll, dry off, whatever it is. But I've noticed that when the weather stops, you gotta be looking.
Yeah.
So, and if you're, if you're back at your truck or something, or back at camp, and then it stops raining, and then you walk over to your glassy spot, whatever, it takes you an hour or whatever to get over there, you're missing out on like prime hunting time.
Yeah, you missed that window.
Yeah.
Of activity. Yeah.
I think that would be true. I think that's true with every animal.
Yeah, it's true for a lot of species, for sure. For sure.
Think about, like, if you're sitting there, underneath a tree or something, and it's because it's raining, what are you going to do when it stops raining?
Oh, yeah. Get out.
You're not going to, you're like, I think I'm just going to keep sitting here. You're probably going to get up and walk around, take the sun in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a solid point, man. For sure. Yeah. So, wrapping up this with like another specific mental battle of the backcountry, and it's something that, a lot of folks don't address, and even the folks that don't address it, I guarantee you still struggle with it, and that's just fear. No adult, blood-blooded, American hardcore hunting male wants to, say that they're afraid of the dark, but quite a few are. Or at least uncomfortable, right? There is like an exposure, I would say, of being in the backcountry, especially if you're solo, dealing with adverse conditions, dealing with new terrain, dealing with the potential of predators, dealing with a million things that can, fear is an aspect of hunting the backcountry for sure, especially, as you're newer to it and less exposed to it. So how have you kind of walked through that and then, overcome it in certain ways?
The best advice that I could give for that, what helped me out, is just do it. Like, literally, the only way that anyone is going to get over whatever it is, walking through the dark or whatever, is to go and do it. And for me, that was something I'll say right here. I was definitely shaken up walking through the dark by myself, but the more I did it, the more I got comfortable with it. But when I first got into all this, it was always in the back of my head. It was like, I'm going to have to do that. Whether it's going to your glassing spot, or, what if you shoot an animal at last light and it's hot? Your responsibility as a hunter is to make sure that meat gets taken care of. So you know what? You're going to be taking care of that animal in the dark. And how I kind of just, I just did it. I remember walking through trails and stuff by myself. I remember the first time I did it by myself, and it was a bear hunt, and because I was on a bear hunt and I saw lion tracks, of course, like, all these crazy things are going through my head as I'm walking via headlamp to where I'm going to call from, so, and I was walking down the trail looking left and right, I was definitely freaked out, man. And then it comes the other aspect of, a lot of people say this is not a big deal. Okay. And maybe it's not, but is sleeping
right
out there, I've heard it so many times. Oh, but you don't got to worry about black bears. You don't got to worry about black bears. Okay. But it does happen. And because it does happen, that's in the back of your mind.
Right.
It, like, for me at least, like, I'm just sitting there, trying to go to sleep, and it's like, what was it? I hear a noise,
Yeah.
Probably nothing. Definitely a bear.
Of course. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the only way to deal with it is to literally do that, is to just deal with it. And the more that you do, I'll tell you, man, the more that you do it, the more comfortable you'll get with it. I heard a story this past January, and and a guy, he backpacked in 3 miles, to his camp via headlamp. He got to his camp and, got a little fire going. He's hanging out, and he looks over, and there's a mountain lion sitting there staring at him. This is here in Arizona during our archery deer season.
Mm-hmm.
That flipped him out so much. I mean, rightfully so. Okay. He emptied his magazine or his clip that was in his little gun at this lion. Probably didn't even hit it.
Right.
Okay. Packed up camp and left at 3 a.m. So is that something, to be aware of? Yeah, absolutely. You know what? You're going out there. They live there,
right.
But I don't think that one should let it taint their experience. Stephen Ranella, he has a funny term for bears, especially people being paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
Not bringing their wives out when they're on their menstruating, just crazy stuff like that, like not brushing your teeth near your camp.
Yeah.
Just overboard stuff. And I think as long as somebody has sound judgment with what they're doing, and they're not like, asking for something to happen,
yeah,
then they're probably, you're fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the best way to do it though, man, is to literally do it. Just get out there. Don't let it freak you out. Fear, in my opinion, is an opportunity to make you, a better hunter. Okay. And to help you grow as a person.
Yeah.
If we just run from all of our fears, we're never going to progress, at least with what we're facing, so yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was actually I've been reading this book, and just today actually it was talking about how, reality is hardly ever as bad as what's in our minds.
Oh yeah.
And so it's totally a mind game, especially when it comes to things like this. Reality is not going to be as bad as what somebody who's afraid is thinking in their mind.
No way.
Like it's just not the case. And so when we face those fears, and like when those stories start playing through your head, and when you start hearing those noises, or you're walking through, like whatever, any of those aspects, like sit back and think about reality and compare that to like the story that you're building up in your head, and you'll realize that so much of your fear is just like this, anxiety that you're brewing within yourself.
Absolutely. It can do a number on you.
Yeah.
You are your own worst enemy in that situation.
Right.
And the more that you let it get to you, the more reasons you're going to think of to justify you leaving or whatever it is, so yeah, it's nasty business, man. It could really put a damper on things.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So listeners, we covered a lot of the points in Josh's article, but what we're going to do is publish his article. Awesome read, great photos to go along with it, and we'll link to it from the show notes of this episode. So go to exomountaingear.com/47, and you'll get Josh's article, can check it out, and it's definitely worth the read. But before we let you go, Josh, something that, listeners are always super interested in, we're always getting questions about, and something that's just always fun to chat about is gear. And so from your perspective, I know that you've gotten to kind of try some different things, and kind of part of, writing and getting into things like that is reviewing gear. Just what's some of the like standout must-have gear items for your experience, and or what's some kind of new things you're trying this year? Just what's some of the things that pop in your head that you'd love to kind of share in terms of gear things that you're absolutely loving or just trying?
Well, obviously I don't mean to be tacky when I say this, but your guys' pack.
Oh, come on. No.
Yeah, no, seriously, this is going to be my first fall with it. So I mean, I think I got it back in March, so I am super excited for that pack. It impresses me every time I'm out with it, man. It really does. Whether it has 80 pounds in it or 20 pounds in it, it does the job, and it does it good. Yeah. So I'm really excited for that. I'm using the 3500 this year. Yeah. So
I will say this, it was cool because Josh did a review of the pack and did a phenomenal job. And by phenomenal job, I don't mean like he made an infomercial singer praises. I mean, he like just broke it down and covered it in a ton of detail that's super helpful to people who are shopping. And, he like called us out on some things such as the lid design that could be improved. The funny thing is we were in the midst of improving that lid when that review came out. And so it was just cool to see like the feedback of, real users saying like the pack's super solid. I love this. If there's one thing I could change, it could be this. And like, while that was happening, it was like, oh, cool. Cause we were kind of feeling we could make that better too. And oh yeah, we are actually making that better. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah. It was kind of funny. I think someone commented, on the review, and they were like, how old is this? Yeah, I mean, your guys' new lid, it is not by any means old. It's been out for a couple months, right? Or something like that. Uh-huh. How old is this? Because all my photos have the old lid on them. Yeah. And I think I actually mentioned in the article, I'm like, I think they're working on a new lid as I write this. But so no, that was pretty funny. Yeah. Something else that I just got this year that I'm really excited for. I'm going to I'm doing my first out-of-state hunt this year. Going to Colorado for elk, and I picked up a DeLorme inReach. Oh yeah, and I am super excited for that thing. Just being able to just to communicate. Yeah, I mean, if for those that don't know what it is, it's basically a satellite. A little satellite communication device where you can text, you can send and receive texts via like through your phone with it, or you can use the device itself, and it works off satellite, so you don't have to like. I was definitely the guy walking around with the phone up in the air, going on top of the mountain, trying to get a signal. Yeah. So that'll be really nice. Another thing that this is kind of might be overlooked a little bit, but I'm a huge advocate of First Light. Mm-hmm. That fusion camo pattern is unreal. Yeah. The first time I used it, it was this past January, and for anybody that has never hunted coos deer or cows deer, that's it's an eternal debate right there. I say coos just because it doesn't sound weird. Yeah. You're hunting a cow deer? Excuse me? Yeah, no. It's basically a desert whitetail. Super, super jumpy and on edge. With that camo pattern, I had coos deer 8 feet from me. Not in a blind. Yeah. Or up against something or anything. So I was super, super impressed with how that worked. And I've never had a lot of confidence in a camouflage. I just kind of put camo on because that's what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. You're hunting, right? Yeah, you're supposed to. Yeah, you're supposed to wear camouflage. But with that stuff, that gives me a whole nother level of confidence. I was just out the other day, and just walking this trail, I look up ahead of me, and about it's probably 55 yards up the hill. There's a coos buck standing there, looking dead at me, just staring through me. Okay, so I stop, and after about 2 minutes of looking at me, that deer walked straight to me. Wow. And got to 35 yards and never ran away. So, I mean, coincidence? Maybe, I don't know. But I'm telling you, ever since I've had that camo pattern and have had it in front of animals, it's been pretty impressive. So yeah, so that, and then I also picked up. Mark, have you picked up some of the new rain gear?
Yeah, I've handled the new stuff. I haven't tested it like in real world conditions, but I've handled the new stuff and seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is awesome. I picked up we're talking about First Light rain gear, by the way. I picked up the new the ultra light.
Yeah, the lightweight one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that thing is awesome.
Yeah. Super
cool. Compresses down. I put it. It's kind of similar to the puffy. Like it goes into its own pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So packs away really nice and is super lightweight. So yeah, and it fits great too. So I'm super excited for that. I picked that up for Colorado because I've heard Colorado's a little more prone to moisture than Arizona. But then I've heard it could be 90 degrees and it's hot and sunny and not rain at all. So I don't know.
Yeah, man, you never know. Like when we were there last year, we were hunting fairly late, and it was like we just hit a warm front, and it was, we're almost last week of September, kind of like the tail end of the third week.
Really?
Near the end of our hunt, and it was like, I think the day we packed out, it was like 78, which felt like, 108,
Right.
At 10,000 feet when it's 78 in late September. It's like, oh, this kind of sucks. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, 2 years before that, I was there even earlier, and it was snowy, sleety, and in the 20s. So, welcome to the mountains, right? Wow. Yeah, it's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be prepared, I guess.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's about all you can do.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a tip out of Steve's book and just keep some extra stuff in my truck, you know? Right. And maybe, if it gets snowy or whatever, then I can go back to the truck and pick up what I need to pick up, So.
Yeah. Well, that was like last year too. I mean, the forecast was saying it was going to be warm and dry, and I just ended up leaving my rain gear in the truck because I was like, I'm not thinking I'm going to need this. Like, if anything, you get that spot, like passing thunderstorm, but we really didn't even get that. Like, I can't remember a drop of rain last year, but other years I've lived in my rain gear for, a couple days straight. So. Right.
Do you pack pants as well, rain pants?
I have. Again, it just kind of depends on the situation. I'll say this, it's not something I'll be packing unless it really looks like extended, prolonged periods of, moisture. Like that year it was cold. It was like a wet snow, and then it was like super sleety. We were sliding all around, and they were super helpful at that point for sure. But I'm not one to pack like a full rain kit unless I think I'm really gonna need it.
Right.
Because you can always, you can always get that fire, get your pants dry, and hang out in your skivvies for a bit.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. That merino wool. Yeah. That stuff dries fairly quickly. And I mean, at the same time, even when it's wet, it's going to keep you warm, so.
And even like if it's a later in the day thing, you obviously don't want to sleep in wet clothes, but, get them as dry as possible, wring them out, like air them out while you're eating dinner and whatnot. And then don't wear them, but just throw them in the bottom of your sleeping bag when you climb in, and your body heat and all that. It'll kind of help dry things out too.
Good tip.
So.
Awesome.
Cool, man.
When are you guys heading out, man?
We're actually going early this year, or early for us. We'll be packing in probably on Labor Day. Okay. So, we're not like going for the opener, but we're gonna be there in the early part of the season.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing too. I'm kind of trying to, I didn't want to go right away. Like, what is it, August 27th it opens? Yeah. I didn't want to go right away, so I'm going to go the week after. Yeah. Before the muzzleloader guys get in there. Yep. Yep. Hoping that the bulls are like starting to get a little fired up, but they're not with cows yet.
Yeah. See, that's what we ran into last year, is we were hunting kind of that third-ish week. Yeah. And we were getting into bulls, and they'd chat a bit, but they, like most of the bulls, well, I won't say most, but like several bulls that we ran into already had cows, and it was just so freaking tough to make a play on them. Yeah. And we'd get into them, we'd have really fun encounters. But but it's tough. It's tough when there's extra eyes, because there are situations where we're trying to get in amongst the herd, but then you're worried about, how many pairs of eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And then there are situations where we had great calling encounters, but it's just super tough to pull them away. Mm-hmm. So that's part of the frustration last year is we had good action in terms of calling and some good responses, but dude, it's a totally different ball game when they have cows. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, the year before that, dude, there's nothing like it when you hit that like peak time where, bulls are starting to break up, but they don't quite have cows. They're still kind of on their own, but then like they're aggressive towards other bulls. They're interested in, like, if you hit that, dude, they get so pissed off and fired up. It's so fun.
I can't. I that's what I'm hoping for. This is my first archery elk hunt, so I can't sleep at night, man.
Yeah.
Just super looking forward to it. We went scouting back in June, and I found some old rutting sign, found a couple groups of cows, so
yeah, man. Just if you're scouting in June and seeing cows, like, I'd want to see cows more than I want to see bulls in June.
That's what I've been telling people. Like, a lot of people, they're like, "Oh, did you see any nice bulls?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to see the bulls."
No, I mean, if you're seeing them in June, like, maybe if you're there for the first few days, that's fine. But if you're hunting like that week after, dude, I'd be stoked to be seeing cows in June.
Yeah, man. That's why I found that, and I was like, yeah, because I do the same exact thing with deer here, and I'll go out in our deer rut in Arizona is in January, for coos deer at least. So I'll go out in November, and a lot of people are out looking for bucks. I will leave an area if I see bucks, and I'll go try and find groups of does, and then I will stick with those does once I find them. And then once the rut kicks in, it's like the bucks just come out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yep.
They just appear, and usually big ones too, because they're coming out of the woodwork. So
yeah, for sure. Well, so where can listeners kind of follow all of your adventures this fall? It sounds like you're going to have an awesome season. Where can we follow along?
Yeah, I'm on all the social media platforms: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Just search Dialed In Hunter, or you could go to my website, which is dialedinhunter.com. So
awesome, man. Well, cool. It's been awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, Josh.
No problem, man.
And
Thank
listeners, don't forget, check out the show notes, exomountaingear.com / I think I said 47 earlier. Is that what I said? No, I'm getting right. All the numbers confused. 47. If not, just go to exomountaingear.com / blog. That'll get you there. That's close enough, right? Maybe I butchered the number. This will be 47 or 48. I'm just not sure exactly, A, which one this is, and B, when it's going to get up. But just exomountaingear.com / blog or / podcast. Either way, you'll get there. Check out Josh's article. We'll also have links to all of his sites, social media channels, all the above. Give him a follow his season. I'm telling you guys, legitimately, the dude's doing really cool stuff. Great photography, great writing. Definitely worth a follow. Josh, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much, man.